Hey there.
Yeah.
Ready to step into the ring?
Sounds like fun.
Well, this isn't your typical boxing match.
Ah, I see.
You're diving deep into a war of words.
Ooh, tell me more.
It's between rappers May and Cameron
Okay, rappers.
and Shakur Stevenson's manager, Jay Prince.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
All this started over a boxing match.
Interesting.
What they saw as lackluster.
Pretty lackluster, okay.
We're breaking down this heated exchange
All right.
from a YouTube clip on the show, Come and Talk to Me.
Yeah, I've seen that show, yeah.
And it goes beyond just trash talk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it touches on respect in this digital age.
That's a big one, yeah.
And the power of opinions online these days.
Mm-hmm.
Even how big names get pulled into these online feuds.
Oh, for sure. It's fascinating how something that starts with sports can spiral into something much bigger.
Right. Let's set the stage. We've got Shakur Stevenson.
Yeah.
He's this up-and-coming boxer,
Mm.
had a fight that a lot of people weren't impressed with, including, of course, May and Cameron.
Right.
Did you happen to catch the fight yourself?
I did, yeah.
What did you think of Stevenson's performance?
You know, Stevenson won, but he didn't have that aggressive style that everyone was expecting.
Right, so not as exciting.
He's known for his speed and skills,
Yeah.
but this time it was like he was playing it safe.
Interesting. So even in boxing, there are different opinions on what a good fight is.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just about winning, it's about the whole package.
Yeah, style, entertainment, all of that.
May actually says, when you give such a lackluster performance and then you think you can make threats to people because you gave a lackluster performance, pause, you don't have the right to tell me what I should like.
Wow. Strong words.
He feels like his opinion as a fan is being disrespected.
I can see that.
Have you ever felt like your take on something was totally dismissed?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's frustrating when you feel like your perspective doesn't matter, especially if you're a fan, you're invested.
Exactly. You're invested. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, right?
For sure.
But then Jay Prince comes into the picture,
Okay.
and things get really interesting.
Okay.
Now, Jay Prince is a big name in hip-hop.
Yeah.
He's also Shakur Stevenson's manager.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about him stepping into this online exchange?
Well, he's definitely a powerful guy, Jay Prince, not someone you want to mess with.
Definitely not.
In the clip, his message to May and Cameron is pretty clear. Chill, I got this one. It's like he's stepping in to protect his fighter.
It's like he's almost a bodyguard for Stevenson, shielding him from the online blows.
Exactly.
It feels like a manager's role has evolved.
Yeah.
It's not just about contracts and appearances anymore. It's about managing the online narrative, too.
Oh, for sure. Social media can really make or break someone these days.
And May and Cameron, they were not backing down. They fire back, saying Jay Prince can't just silence them. What really stands out to you about their response?
It's a real clash of personalities. May especially. He gives this scathing reply to Jay Prince's, attempt to exert his authority.
Right, and he doesn't hold back.
We're not your little expletive. Little expletive have big homies. We're not little expletive, so we don't even respect big homies.
Wow. There's a real generational dynamic playing out here.
Absolutely.
You've got these older figures in hip-hop, like Jay Prince, coming up in a different time.
Yeah, where respect and authority were earned, through a certain code.
Right, a certain code of conduct. Then you have May and Cameron, representing a younger generation, who are used to a much more open, confrontational online world.
It's like they're speaking different languages when it comes to respect and power.
Totally different languages. And this leads to May calling out Jay Prince for what he calls selective street expletive.
It's a strong accusation,
Yeah.
May is basically saying that Jay Prince is picking and choosing who he goes after.
Right, targeting the people he thinks he can intimidate.
Exactly. And avoiding conflict with, the people who hold real power.
So it's like he's saying, don't come at us with this big "oh-me" energy if you're not applying that same standard to everyone. It makes you think about power dynamics.
Oh, absolutely. Not just in hip-hop, but in society as a whole,
Right, like why do some people seem to get away with things that others can't?
It's a question we all ask ourselves sometimes.
Have you ever noticed that kind of selective enforcement?
All the time. It could be at work, with friends. You see it everywhere.
It's like May is tapping into this feeling that we all have of being held to a different standard sometimes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And he even calls out specific situations, times when he felt like Jay Prince was silent.
Right, pointing to this potential double standard.
It's like he's saying, you weren't so tough then, were you? Do you think May has a point? Is Jay Prince's authority being challenged here?
I think so, yeah. And not just by May and Cameron.
but by a larger shift in how we view power and respect online.
Exactly. Social media has given a voice to the people who were silenced before.
Right, it's leveled the playing field in some ways.
And now people can challenge these traditional power structures directly.
So we started with a boxing match, and now we're talking about power and respect in the digital age.
It's crazy how these things evolve, right?
And here's a twist. May and Cameron, even though they're clearly frustrated,
Yeah.
they admit that this whole thing has brought them a lot of attention.
Oh, for sure.
They even talk about being featured in Billboard and TMZ because of this beef.
It's ironic, right? They got what they wanted, but not in the way they expected.
May actually jokes about it. He says, you and Billboard, you ever been in Billboard expletive? You made it expletive, you made it.
He's got a point. There's
Yeah.
no such thing as bad publicity, right?
Exactly. It's like they stumbled into a marketing masterclass, even if it was unintentional. Do you think this whole thing could actually help Shakur Stevenson?
It's possible. Even if it's not the kind of attention he wants, it's still attention.
And any publicity is good publicity, right?
To a certain extent. It's complicated. But it definitely raises questions about the unintended consequences of these online feuds.
Right. Things can spiral. You never know who's going to benefit in the end.
Exactly.
But one thing that stands out to me is the humor. May and Cameron, they keep things light.
Yeah, even when they're calling out Jay Prince, you can tell they're not taking themselves too seriously.
It's like they're saying, yeah, this is messed up, but we're going to have some fun with it.
And that makes them more relatable, right?
They're not just these untouchable figures. They're real people dealing with a crazy situation and finding the humor in it.
I think it's a healthy way to cope with conflict. It can even open up space for dialogue and understanding.
But let's go back to something May mentioned earlier. He talked about how, in the past, older figures in hip-hop would offer guidance, mentorship, even when they disagreed.
Yeah, like passing the torch, sharing their wisdom.
He seems to be longing for that kind of connection.
It's interesting, right? Because social media has created a much more fragmented world.
It's like everyone's in their own little echo chamber.
Yeah, and there's less emphasis on seeking guidance from those who came before. It's more about forging your own path, even if it means clashing with those who hold different views.
It's almost like the online world encourages confrontation rather than collaboration. Do you think there's a way to bridge that gap?
It's a tough question. It would take a conscious effort from both sides to step outside their comfort zones and really engage with people who have different perspectives.
It's about empathy, right? Active listening, being willing to learn from each other.
Exactly.
It's like we need to find a way to translate those old school values of respect and mentorship into the language of the internet.
Where it's not about shutting down dissenting voices, but about creating a space where different generations can actually learn from each other.
Even if it gets a little messy sometimes. We've explored a lot today, from boxing to online power dynamics.
It's all connected in a way, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question to think about. In this age of social media, where everyone's got a platform and opinions can just spread like wildfire, what are your responsibilities?
That's the big question, isn't it?
How do you balance expressing yourself, but still respecting other people's views?
It's about recognizing that the online world is still the real world.
Right.
Our words have consequences.
Yeah.
It's about being mindful of the impact of what we say, good or bad.
It's easy to get caught up in the moment, fire off a quick response without really thinking.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe, like Mai said, we need to take a step back sometimes.
Look for those opportunities for dialogue.
Yeah, for real conversation.
Even when it's tough.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have. From boxing to online feuds.
What started with a fight?
Spiraled into something much bigger.
Respect, power, how we talk to each other online.
It's a reminder that even small things can reveal these bigger patterns in society.
And spark important conversations about how we interact with each other online.
For sure.
This whole beef really highlights the complexities of fame in the digital age.
The lines between public and private are so blurred.
And the responsibility that comes with having a platform.
Absolutely.
It also shows how important it is to find the humor in things.
To be self-aware.
And just laugh sometimes, even when things are tough.
It makes a difference.
And hey, maybe this whole thing will lead to something good.
Maybe.
More dialogue between generations.
More awareness of how power works.
A more thoughtful approach to being online.
It could happen. Change often starts with a conversation.
Even one that starts with the boxing match.
And a few heated words.
So, As you navigate your own world online, remember a few things.
Stay curious.
Mhm.
Stay engaged.
And most importantly,
Stay true to yourself,
we'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.
where we'll keep exploring the depths of the information that's all around us.